At 2:47 a.m. on October 19, 2017, astronomers at the Panoramic Survey Telescope and Rapid Response System in Hawaii detected something that would fundamentally alter our understanding of our place in the cosmos, an object moving through our solar system at speeds that defied conventional astronomical explanation. They designated it 1I/Oumuamua, the first confirmed interstellar visitor to our solar system. But what they didn't tell the public immediately was how utterly strange this object really was. My name is Professor Chen, and in 35 years of studying celestial mechanics, I never imagined I would witness the moment when humanity discovered we are being watched by something that doesn't follow the rules of physics as we understand them. The object wasn't just unusual, it was impossible according to everything we know about how natural objects behave in space. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to realize that something fundamental about the universe has been hidden from you your entire life? That feeling is what consumed the astronomical community in the days following Oumuamua's detection. The panic wasn't about the object itself, it was about what the object's behavior suggested about intelligence operating on scales we cannot comprehend. 6 years later, another interstellar object entered our solar system. This one was designated 2I/Borisov in August 2019. But then came the one that changed everything. On January 3, 2025, telescopes worldwide detected a third interstellar object. The designation was 3I/Atlas. And from the moment it was detected, it behaved in ways that made both Oumuamua and Borisov look like simple space rocks by comparison, the impossible trajectory. 3I Atlas entered our solar system from a direction that shouldn't have been possible. Natural objects follow predictable paths determined by gravitational forces and initial velocity vectors. But 3I Atlas came from galactic north, moving perpendicular to the plane of the solar system with a precision that suggested intentional navigation rather than natural trajectory. Dr. Sarah Martinez at the European Southern Observatory was the first to notice the impossibility. She ran the calculation 7 times before calling an emergency meeting with her department head. Her hands were shaking when she presented the data. The object is changing velocity without any visible propulsion mechanism. It's not just moving through space, it's navigating. Have you ever watched something violate the fundamental laws of physics in real time? Because that's exactly what 3I Atlas demonstrated within 48 hours of detection. The object exhibited 3 impossible characteristics simultaneously. First, it was accelerating and decelerating without any detectable energy emissions. Second, it was making course corrections that required forces no natural process could generate. Third, and most disturbing, it was responding to observation. Every time a telescope locked onto 3I Atlas for detailed study, the object would alter its reflectivity, making precise measurement impossible. But here's what terrified astronomers most. When they calculated the energy requirements for the maneuvers 3I Atlas was performing, they discovered something that contradicted our understanding of matter and energy. The object was generating forces equivalent to a small nuclear reactor while showing a surface temperature barely above absolute zero. We're not just observing advanced technology. We're watching something manipulate physical laws we thought were universal constants. The Deep Space Analysis Division at NASA attempted to model 3I Atlas's propulsion system. Their supercomputers crashed repeatedly, trying to reconcile the observed behavior with known physics. Dr. Michael Torres, who led the analysis team, described the experience in his classified report. It's like watching a car drive up a vertical wall while the driver insists they're going straight. The laws we thought governed motion simply don't apply to this object, the shape that shouldn't exist. When astronomers finally captured high-resolution images of 3I Atlas, they discovered something that made the object's impossible trajectory seem almost mundane by comparison. The shape wasn't natural. It wasn't even approximately natural like a rough sphere or elongated rock. 3I Atlas was geometrically perfect. The object measured approximately 400 meters in length, but its proportions followed mathematical relationships that don't occur in nature: golden ratio spirals, Fibonacci sequences, and geometric patterns that required conscious design. But the most disturbing aspect was the surface structure. Telescopic analysis revealed features that looked like circuitry at a massive scale, interconnected patterns that pulsed with subtle variations in reflectivity, creating what appeared to be information flow across the object's surface. Dr. Rebecca Foster at the Arecibo Observatory spent 3 weeks analyzing the surface patterns before she realized what she was looking at. These aren't random features or natural formations. They're functional components. The entire object is a machine, and it's operating continuously. The patterns we're seeing are analogous to watching electrical signals move through an impossibly complex computer processor. But here's what made experienced astronomers question their careers and their sanity. The surface patterns were changing. Not randomly, but in response to our observation methods. When radio telescopes scanned 3I Atlas, certain surface features would activate. When optical telescopes focused on specific areas, different patterns would illuminate. The object wasn't just aware it was being observed, it was responding, communicating, or perhaps studying us as intently as we were studying it. My colleague at Harvard, Dr. James Liu, described his experience analyzing the surface data. I spent 40 years studying asteroids and comets. I know what natural objects look like. This isn't natural. This is technology so advanced that calling it a spacecraft feels inadequate. It's more like a flying supercomputer the size of a skyscraper that can rewrite physics to suit its needs. The signal nobody was supposed to hear. 3 weeks after 3. I-Atlas entered the inner solar system. Radio telescope arrays detected something that triggered immediate classification protocols at every major space agency worldwide. A transmission, not from Earth, not from any known satellite or space probe, from 3I Atlas itself. The signal lasted exactly 11 minutes and contained information density that exceeded anything human technology could generate. But here's what made intelligence agencies worldwide go into lockdown. The signal was addressed to multiple locations throughout our solar system, coordinates that didn't correspond to any known celestial bodies or human space assets. 3I Atlas wasn't just transmitting, it was communicating with something else in our solar system that we haven't detected yet. Dr. Elena Vasquez at the SETI Institute was monitoring deep space radio emissions when her equipment picked up the transmission. Her initial response was to check all her instruments for malfunction because what she was detecting shouldn't have been possible. The signal carried more information in 11 minutes than humanity has transmitted into space in 70 years of radio astronomy, and it was structured, organized, clearly artificial. But the content of that transmission is what caused 5 different government agencies to classify the data at the highest security levels. The signal contained detailed specifications of Earth's technological capability, human population distribution, and what appeared to be threat assessment protocols. 3I Atlas wasn't just observing Earth. It was reporting to something else about humanity's current status and potential future development. The most disturbing element in that transmission was discovered by cryptographers who spent weeks analyzing the signal structure. Embedded in the technical data were references to previous observations of Earth dating back hundreds of years. 3I Atlas wasn't the first visitor, it was just the first one we detected. Humanity has been under cosmic surveillance for centuries, and we never knew it. I need to share what it felt like when I was briefed on the signal analysis. Sitting in that classified facility, reading translations of an alien transmission that discussed human civilization, like scientists discussing bacteria in a petri dish. The clinical detachment was somehow more terrifying than any invasion scenario. We're not enemies to them. We're specimens under observation by intelligence that views us as curiosities rather than threats. The companion objects. 2 months after 3I Atlas's arrival, deep space monitoring detected something that transformed our understanding from concerning to catastrophic. 3I Atlas wasn't alone. 6 additional objects had entered the solar system, following trajectories that would bring them into Earth's orbital vicinity within weeks. These companion objects ranged in size from 50 meters to nearly a kilometer in diameter. Each one exhibited the same impossible maneuvering capabilities as 3I Atlas. Each one displayed the same geometrically perfect surface structures, and each one was positioned at coordinates that created a geometric pattern around Earth's orbit. We weren't being visited anymore. We were being surrounded. Dr. Patricia Hayes at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory was the first to recognize the pattern. Her analysis revealed that the 7 objects together formed what mathematicians call a dimensional gateway configuration, positions in space that created a geometric framework capable of, in theory, manipulating space-time itself. When she presented her findings to the emergency task force, her voice was barely above a whisper. They're building something using our solar system as the construction site, but here's what made military strategists worldwide activate defense protocols designed for extinction-level events. The companion objects were communicating with each other constantly, creating a network of transmissions that pulse through space with perfect synchronization. They were coordinating, planning, preparing for something that required 7 massive technological artifacts working in perfect harmony. The analysis of these companion objects revealed capabilities that made 3I Atlas look primitive by comparison. One object appeared to be generating gravitational anomalies that pulled space debris toward it, then somehow converting that debris into energy without any waste products. Another object was emitting what physicists could only describe as dimensional probes, sending signals that seemed to propagate through space-time in ways that violated causality. They were arriving before they were transmitted. My granddaughter asked me during this period why there were so many new stars in the sky that didn't move like other stars. How do you explain to a child that those aren't stars at all? They're machines from somewhere else, building something around our planet that we don't understand and cannot stop. The most classified analysis came from a joint task force of physicists who studied the energy signatures from all 7 objects combined. When operating together, these objects were generating power equivalent to a small star, but focusing that energy in ways that suggested they were modifying the fundamental properties of space within our solar system. They weren't just visiting our neighborhood, they were remodeling it, the consciousness phenomenon. 6 months into 3I Atlas's presence in our solar system, hospitals worldwide began reporting an unprecedented phenomenon, patients experiencing vivid dreams and waking visions of geometric patterns identical to those on 3I Atlas's surface. Initially dismissed as mass hysteria or social media-induced delusions, the phenomenon accelerated until it could no longer be ignored. Dr. Amanda Chen, a neurologist at Johns Hopkins University, was the first to document the medical reality of what was happening. Brain scans of affected patients showed neural activity patterns that didn't exist in baseline human neurology. New connections forming between brain regions that normally don't communicate. Enhanced activity in areas associated with mathematical processing and spatial reasoning. Most disturbing of all, synchronized neural patterns across patients who had never met each other. Their brains were beginning to operate in coordination, like biological components of a distributed network. But the dreams themselves were what drew the attention of intelligence agencies worldwide. People from different countries, cultures, and languages were reporting identical experiences. Walking through impossible geometries, understanding mathematics that didn't exist in human textbooks, and most disturbing, receiving what felt like instructions from an intelligence that spoke without words directly into consciousness. One patient, a high school teacher from Ontario named Michael Stevens, described his experience to researchers. I see patterns everywhere now, in clouds, in traffic, in the way light reflects off water. And I understand them. They're messages, not words exactly, more like concepts being downloaded directly into my awareness. I know things I never learned, understand principles that I don't have words to explain, and I know I'm not alone. There are thousands of us experiencing this simultaneously. The phenomenon wasn't limited to adults. Children as young as 5 were drawing geometric patterns with mathematical precision that exceeded their developmental capabilities. Teachers worldwide reported students spontaneously solving complex equations they hadn't been taught. But the most disturbing reports came from parents who described their children speaking during sleep in languages that sounded almost mechanical, rhythmic, and precise, discussing concepts that no child should understand. My own experience with this phenomenon made it intensely personal. 3 weeks ago, I woke at 3 a.m. with absolute certainty about a mathematical solution I'd been pursuing for months. The answer was simply there in my consciousness, complete and correct. When I checked the calculations the next morning, they were perfect. But here's what terrifies me. I don't remember solving the problem. The solution appeared in my awareness like a file being downloaded into my brain without my conscious participation. The consciousness phenomenon suggested something far more invasive than mere observation. 3. iAtlas and its companions weren't just studying humanity from a distance. They were interfacing directly with human neurology, perhaps testing our consciousness, perhaps preparing us for something, or perhaps slowly reprogramming human awareness to serve purposes we cannot comprehend. Government psychologists studying the phenomenon discovered that affected individuals were developing measurably enhanced cognitive capabilities, improved memory, faster processing, ability to perceive patterns that others couldn't detect. But they were also developing a disturbing emotional detachment from normal human concerns, as if their consciousness was being subtly shifted away from individual human identity towards something more collective, more cosmic, and fundamentally less human. The hidden threat revealed. 14 months after 3I Atlas's arrival, a classified team of astrophysicists made a discovery that changed everything. Using gravitational lens analysis and deep space interferometry, they detected what 3I Atlas and its companions were actually building in our solar system. And the revelation was so catastrophic that 3 governments independently activated doomsday protocols designed for species-ending scenarios. The 7 objects weren't building a communication array or observation platform. They were constructing a dimensional gateway, a massive architectural structure that existed partially in normal space and partially in dimensions that human physics barely acknowledges. The purpose of this gateway became clear when deep space monitoring detected gravitational distortions consistent with massive objects approaching from interstellar space. 3I Atlas wasn't a visitor. It was an advanced construction team, preparing our solar system to receive something far larger, far more powerful, and potentially far more threatening. Dr. Robert Kim at the Institute for Advanced Study was part of the classified analysis team. His report, which I was permitted to read under the strictest security protocols, described the gateway's function with terrifying clarity. This structure is designed to allow transit of objects that exceed planetary mass through dimensional frameworks that bypass normal space-time constraints. They're building a highway that will allow massive artificial constructs to appear in our solar system instantaneously from locations potentially thousands of light years away. But here's what transformed concern into existential terror. The energy signatures associated with the incoming objects match theoretical models for something that should be impossible. Dyson sphere-scale constructs, artificial structures built around entire stars to harvest their complete energy output, intelligence operating on scales where planets are resources and solar systems are tools. And they were coming here, summoned by 3I Atlas, expected to arrive within months. The hidden threat wasn't invasion in any conventional sense, it was incorporation. The gateway being constructed would allow our solar system to be integrated into a cosmic infrastructure network spanning multiple star systems. Earth wasn't being conquered, it was being annexed, absorbed into a civilization so vast that our entire planet represented nothing more than a minor component in systems we couldn't begin to comprehend. Military analysts studying the gateway's construction realized something that made conventional defense planning completely obsolete. The technology being employed operated from dimensional frameworks where human weapons wouldn't even register as a threat. Trying to fight this with nuclear weapons would be like throwing rocks at the internet. The attack exists in the wrong conceptual framework to even reach the target. My colleague at MIT, Dr. Sarah Williams, described the military briefing she attended. They asked us what defense options existed. We had to tell them there aren't any. You can't defend against something that operates from dimensional principles you can't access. It's like asking how a two-dimensional being defends against three-dimensional manipulation. The answer is they can't. They lack the dimensional access necessary to even perceive the threat fully. But the most disturbing revelation came from probability analysis of the gateway's construction timeline and the correlation with changes in human consciousness. The neurological modifications being observed in human populations weren't accidental side effects. They were deliberate preparation. 3i Atlas was gradually adjusting human neurology to make us compatible with whatever was coming through that gateway. We weren't being invaded. We were being prepared, adapted, modified to serve as functional components in a cosmic system that required consciousness operating according to specifications that baseline human awareness couldn't meet. The countdown to transformation. Current projections suggest the gateway will reach operational status within 90 days. Deep space monitoring shows 3 massive artificial constructs the size of Earth's moon approaching our solar system's outer boundary. Their trajectories suggest they'll reach the gateway's location within weeks of its completion. And when they arrive, everything about human civilization will change in ways we cannot predict or prevent. World governments have activated something called the Cosmic Transition Protocol, not military defense, not evacuation plans, psychological preparation programs designed to help humanity adapt to a reality where our planet becomes a managed component of an infrastructure system spanning multiple star systems. We're not preparing to fight. We're preparing to accept that humanity's cosmic independence ended the moment 3i Atlas entered our solar system. The consciousness modifications continue to accelerate worldwide. Millions of people now report enhanced awareness, mathematical intuition, and what they describe as cosmic perspective. The ability to perceive themselves not as individuals, but as components of larger organizational systems. Perhaps this is mercy. Perhaps 3i Atlas is helping us adapt to a reality we couldn't survive experiencing with unmodified human consciousness. Or perhaps we're watching the systematic replacement of human awareness with something more compatible with cosmic civilization. Either way, the transformation is irreversible. The gateway is nearly complete. The massive artificial constructs are approaching, and humanity stands at the threshold of a future where our choices, our independence, and possibly our consciousness itself will be managed by intelligence operating on scales we're only beginning to comprehend. What comes next isn't invasion or conquest, it's integration. The hidden cosmic threat revealed by 3i Atlas isn't that they want to destroy us, it's that they don't need to. We're about to discover that cosmic civilization doesn't eliminate primitive species. It absorbs them, incorporates them, transforms them into functional components of systems where individual planetary consciousness becomes irrelevant. And the most terrifying aspect is that most of humanity won't resist, because by the time we fully understand what's happening, we'll have been modified to accept it. The gateway will open, the massive constructs will arrive, and Earth will begin its permanent role as a managed node in cosmic infrastructure that connects civilizations across dimensions we're only now learning to perceive. The countdown has already begun. The gateway nears completion. The visitors approach, and humanity's cosmic isolation ends forever. Not with invasion, not with conquest, but with seamless integration into a universe far stranger, far more populated, and far more organized than we ever imagined. The hidden threat wasn't that they were coming. It's that they're already here, have been here for months, patiently preparing us for a transformation we cannot comprehend or prevent.